All right, Teresa, thank you so much for submitting your store. This is going to be the Cypress Cove store review, and I want to make it a little bit more interactive because you were graceful enough to actually give me access to your theme. So I'm just going to share some things, and then maybe even if I get to it, make changes right away just to show you what I mean by them. But in the very beginning, I would say let's just go through the store, talk about some things, and then I'll show you how we can actually make some of these changes. The very first thing I'm doing is just absorbing. So what is it that you're selling? Do I understand it from first glance? And I think you did a great job. I see exactly favorite memories bottled. I see an image of perfume. At least that's what I assume. If it's not perfume, you will let me know. This is something we need to change. But no, I already read the copy. I think this is very done very well. Favorite memories bottled. We create non-toxic, clean and modern perfumes to help you recreate your favorite memories. Yeah, this is definitely something you can leave. Good job there. Let me actually jump to the structure of it, because you can see this is the above the fold, and I'm previewing this right now on a desktop on my laptop. But you can see on the above the fold, we have maybe a third of it being this crucial information. And then we have maybe a total of a quarter of it being, okay, this might be less, but if we add all of this, we might get maybe even another third of just information that's kind of distracting from the hero section. So for example, the announcement bar, the free shipping on orders over, I know everyone's doing it. I would probably remove it. I would give people more the intro of showing, hey, this is actually what we're selling. The other problem I have with the shipping over 75 is your products cost 65. And usually if we want to price it like this, if we say, hey, if you buy 2, you get free shipping, then they would now spend $130 just to reach the $75 threshold. So that's not going to work. People won't just necessarily upsell like this. They might add an accessory if you have. But for perfume, I'm less concerned about free shipping. I would probably just remove it. Or if you have a new collection, I would announce a new collection here, saying this is maybe our new scent, a new smell. I don't know how you say it in the perfume world, but I would just announce something when you have something to announce. Right now, I would probably drop it and get rid of it. Then for the navigation, you have actually a great type font. Like, this is a great logo. I don't like the background around it. And the reason being it, technically I do like the background, but it's competing now for attention. So you can see I read this, I see this, and you can see these sharp corners. And that's just going to make it a little bit clunky how the site flows and takes up a lot of space. So I would do is I would upload the logo without the background. Everything else, keep it the same. Maybe change the color even to this green of the font. And then drop it to the side or in the middle so it's not above. We don't want this to stack. Otherwise, you can see we waste a lot of time or a lot of space even, but more important, visitors' time, first seeing a big logo and then seeing what's actually being offered. And then in here, not too much to criticize on the navigation itself. Join our list, I would usually deprioritize unless that's part of your core strategy. Then I would even call out what is the list. That was the first thought I had. Is this a newsletter? Is this a wait list? Is this a membership? So unless you're promoting it, I would remove it from here, or unless your customers know, okay, I know what the list is, let me join the list. Otherwise, I would just focus on the shop, and you don't have too many here, so I would probably even split out just to shop, and then limited editions, and maybe even sample packs. I might even move to the top nav and not just underneath the shop, even though what you did perfectly fine, shop, you can even rename it from shop to scents or something, and then limited editions should definitely have its own menu right here. And then samples, you can probably even leave underneath the shop because we don't want to, I assume, depending on the data, I assume we don't want to promote the samples right away. But that's something where you realize. If you realize people should buy samples first, and that's going to make them buy the main product, absolutely move the samples up here. Otherwise, leave them in the navigation here. And then again, just by moving this to the side, so we're not stacking, we're going to win a lot of space, and it's going to look much, much cleaner. Other than that, I think you're using the image with text section. I think this is done well. I would change the font a little bit, not necessarily the font type, but just like the size of it. And the trick is, if we want to just elevate the luxuriousness, the feel of something, we actually want to go with a smaller font, which is a little bit counterintuitive. Oftentimes we feel like make it bold, the Nike, it makes it more luxurious, but making it small and giving it a lot of space to breathe oftentimes gives us the sense of, oh, this is something crafty, this is something really, really good. So I would actually make this headline smaller. And then down here, I'm just going to keep scrolling. This, I think you just wanted to use as a divider. I don't see any purpose in the green. I think you probably wanted to divide the hero section from then the next content. I would remove this section and I would move it into your rich text section, because otherwise this, you can see it's crammed in, it gets lost a little. This is important data. You have 5-star reviews, amazing. This should be one of the first things to say. Favorite memories in a bottle, and then just already add five stars review or rated 5 stars. You don't necessarily even have to say how many people, or 5.0 from all customers. So we don't necessarily have to say based on 10 reviews. Once you have a good number that's impressive, of course use it, but if it's only 10, I would just say rated 5 stars by our customers. Then here, this is in the sliders or the slideshows, they don't really work all that well. Oftentimes we do want to show different things. Let me just see what you're showing. A day at the lake, that's I believe 1 cent. In the vineyard, that's the other cent. Cham de Baptiste, happy citrus scent. Okay, what you're trying to do is actually, a great approach. That's exactly what you want to do now. So we want to start with, here's everything that we have to offer, a little bit more high-level overview. And then underneath, good idea, I would just do it a little bit differently. You want to introduce all the products and then give them quick access. The problem with the slideshows that I have, that pretty much every brand has, is we can't control on what slide someone lands on. So you, for example, if you're on slide 3, I see, okay, this is a scent, and then I see this, I'm like, oh, shopping the boutiques, is this an ad for a mall? I don't necessarily know yet that these are your scents, and that's the name of the scent. But if you, for example, were to break it into a collection, featured collection, and you show your 3-4 scents right here, your bestsellers, and call them, these are our bestsellers, then that's going to be completely obvious that, okay, these are the 4 scents I now can look at and can learn more about without technically have to go through this. And what we've seen with a lot of session recordings is people actually don't go through these. So we assume that everyone sees the first slide. Not always true. Sometimes people land on the third. But then we barely have seen the data that everyone is seeing all 4 slides and actually paying attention and click through it like I'm doing right now. So replace this with an image with text section, with a probably a featured collection, depending on how you have it structured. Add all 4 here, and then on mobile, wrap it to probably 2. I would do 2 items per line. That's going to look really good. Now you're featuring a product, a day in the vineyard, EDT. I think this works great. Here, only critique I would say is if we just make the font a little smaller, it's going to look a little bit more luxe. Here I would remove the USD. You remove the decimals. Amazing, looking so much better. Buy with shop, usually I would remove it. Just sometimes, especially once we go with a little bit more elevated perceived value, it looks a little cheap, but that's even something that's not going to hurt your conversions right now, so you can keep it even. And then collections. Now this is actually a great idea, and I think this is also what we want to mimic for your bestsellers. And don't feel bad to use the same section 3 times. That's actually where Shopify gets really interesting then, when you can build an entire homepage just with collection, and just give it the name of what am I looking at. So I don't mind seeing 5 of these underneath each other. I just need to understand what collection are you featuring right now. So this one, I'll just give it a different name. Other than that, yeah, this is looking good. It's only minor tweaks, but everything you're saying, I think that's what should be said. Now let's click on the shop and then the product page. Find your fair, nice, you added this to the collection. Amazing, great skill. And now let's take a look. We have the scents here. Great imagery. The only critique I have here is actually 2 points. is make sure that the hover effect, if you want to use it and show the secondary image, make sure all of them have one. Otherwise you can see if I get the white one, it looks broken. If you don't have them yet, just disable the effect because the first image looks great on all of them. And then the other one is I would split them out by sample versus the actual product. So here you see one for $65, here you see one for $5. Even though it's the same one, I would just split it into, and the same way you did it here, instead of just showing the product grid, you can say, here are all our products first, and then here are all of our samples. And then you just split them into two. And this way you're gonna have, and I know you did it here where the samples right next to each other. This way you can do the exact same order. Just here are samples, and here's the full-on product. And then on the product page, let's take a look. Just font changes, everything else looks good. Yeah, the white one, I don't think we need the white one. You have great imagery. I don't think the white one is giving us or making any difference. I would probably just drop this image. And then fragrance notes and benefits, I think this is great. Okay, this is interesting. We use organic sugarcane alcohol instead of the harsher used by mass manufacturers. Our blends are plain vegan, never test on animals. I would assume actually that this is something we should mention on the homepage. I don't know the market all too well, so I don't know how big of that is an influence in the buying decision. But I think benefits is a little bit misleading because I was assuming the benefits is, oh, I'll smell better. But this is very relevant information of maybe even add another tab with cruelty-free or how we produce, or just something where it stands out that people actually click on it. Because this is great information. Like, this is definitely something people should read before they buy. The fragrance notes, on the other hand, I think I would actually remove them from here and add them right up here, probably even as its own field. So what you can do is, I can see you have your own brand name up here. I would use, instead of using the brand name here, use the exact same text element, add the fragrance notes here, and then drop it right underneath maybe your name or the size. You can test it out somewhere here, but you immediately see what the fragrance notes are. I think that's gonna look very, very clean. And then everything else, let's see, wanna try a sample, great. This is an absolute fantastic way. This is exactly how you should do it. Want to try a sample first. Again, I would just change the font size. Everything else looks good. And then let me just see what product this is. I have my face in the way. So we're a day at the lake, a day at the lake. Exactly. You can either do it like that, or if you want to be fancy, you can technically also add a variant to this where it defaults to the 30 milliliters, this one. And then you make the second option, so you can either have, and you probably will make it by size, so it's either this one, or you can select a sample and then it just flips to the sample and you don't have to do it like this. I would probably still do it like this just to give people a visual reference, but that alone is going to help you a lot. Then here in the footer, just quick fixes. I would just remove the Power by Shopify. That's easy to do. I might actually use the same green in the footer just to split up the page again. So we have in the beginning, we have the green, and then we also end on the green, or sage. I think a professional would call it sage. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think you're doing a great job. Let's actually now jump into your store and make some of these tweaks and then see if it actually looks better or if I was giving bad advice. So this is your store right now. I created a duplicate review just so you can actually dismiss all of my changes if you hate them. No hard feelings. And now what I would do is announcement bar, I'm going to hide for now. Header. Now I might need to move my face a couple of times, but for the header, I want the logo to be, let's do middle left. And of course, this is looking funky because that is a big logo. So we're going to actually replace the logo. Let's see if you already have one. Actually, I'm going to make my face small. Let's see if I can find a logo. This is a good logo here, but I want just the Cypress, just the font itself. right, I don't think you have it uploaded. So let me be a little bit hacky right now. You can kind of ignore what I'm doing. This is a cool tool. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. And I can now upload your logo and see maybe what font you're using. And then I can just create you the logo. Seasons. Could be. All right, I'm going to open up Figma. I don't think that's sharing right now. Just want to see if I have access to that. The season. Don't have that. I'm going to try the saloon. Saloon, nothing here. Roxborough. All right, where are my Google fonts? I need my Google font here. All right, you know what? Just for speed's sake, I'm just going to use something that looks very similar. Let's do... Just check I got it right. Cypress, Cove, favorite memories bottled. Really like that. Cypress, Cove. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. Favorite memories bottled. All right, amazing. Let me export it. All right, I got it. I'm back. Let's change this. Add images, download Cypress logo. There we go. That's way too big. But if you want to use a different font, so this font is absolutely not the one that you should be using. This is just the quickest I can find. But I just wanted to show you how we could make it look. You can also use the CC. I think that's going to look great as well. But you can see how much we just already shrunken down the hero section or just the navigation. So I'm going to save this. Now let me actually take a look at your typography and see. Yep, it's scaled, I assumed. And then the body font, I'm going to use the default. And what you're still getting, even if you think the font is a little small, if people use, if they have on their phones, for example, or on their devices, if they have zoom enabled, it's still going to be bigger for them. So we don't necessarily have to make it large for us. We can, if people do have trouble reading this, then they usually have their display zoom enabled, and then the font will be scaled up, and it's not going to be hard to read for them. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to do. Navigation, I'm actually not going to touch right now. One thing you could be doing here is technically, I mean, I'm going to give you a little bit more space because we don't want it to be too close. Let's do 12, 12. I think this is looking good. What we could technically do is change the color scheme. Now we would use a white logo, but I actually like the first one. Let's do this one, favorite memories bottled. Not much I would change here. I would change this button to be the green. Let's see if we have that. That's the wrong one. Don't hate it, but that's not the one I meant to do. This one I like more. The only difference here is I would make it full width, and I might actually install our custom header from our community just to see what the difference is. So let me actually save this, and then let's install the custom header just to see how it looks. Because this divider, I know what you did, good idea. I would just remove it. Oh, that's also a big one. Let's add the stars up here. So we'll just say, that's the hex stars Unicode. And the Unicode is just our text character, so we can actually type a star. We just want to copy this guy. And then in here, our tagline will be 5 stars, rated 5 stars by... we could say, we could blow up your numbers a little bit, or we could just say rated 5 stars, or loved by we could also just do the stars. I would say something to it though. Rated 5 stars. Let's just leave it like that. You can also avoid the stars, just say loved by tens, like hundreds of people. Usually once we get into the hundreds, it starts to sound good. Like even if you just have 100, that's gonna be great. To say loved by 12 people, that sounds like people don't know you've just launched. Like people would assume, okay, you've sold it to hundreds, but only 12 liked it. So this is why before we have good data, I would just keep it very minimal. Before I actually install the other section, let's add this collection, just so I can show you how I would imagine it. So now we actually want to give an overview of our bestsellers, and maybe you already have a bestseller collection. Let's see what we can find. We have samples, we have the bestsellers. That's exactly how we want it. And here I would we can either call it bestsellers or customer favorites. We want to make the heading small. And by making the font small, you might already see how this is looking much cleaner, even though we barely did anything. And let me go ahead and remove the USD. So you can do this under settings, and then there's a currency setting, currency format, and then just show currency codes, and they disappear, or they should disappear. They haven't disappeared, so something else might be causing this. Show currency codes. All right, something else might be causing this. That's something to look at later. Right now, let's continue. So this one we now replaced. And you can still use an image, so you don't have to break it like this, but I would probably then do an image banner. If you want to say something and feature something, and then use one of the big images here. So if you have one where you say it smells like vacation or something, you can still do that. And you can even use an image with text, for example. This one is a great shot. This one is a great shot as well. Probably won't look good on the image banner because the image banner is very wide. Actually, it might look good. If we scale it, it will get clipped. So you can technically either do adapt to first image, but I think, yeah, that's going to be way too big. I think that's going to work with an image with text. So instead of an image banner or even the slideshow, what you can do is just say, I still want to show something and I want to break my site into sections. But for this, we're just going to add the image with text when it allows me to. I have to do it manually. So we can still do image with text and then use the image on the side. And then you can still feature something, share something. Technically, even if you realize, you know what, I just want to use a different color again, you can even change it to use this color scheme. but I wouldn't. I think this is looking good. So you can just have a section like this where you just feature a product. Maybe in here, talk about how everything is clean, how you're using this different sugar, different alcohol. So this would be a great break. And of course, you want to move it up. So we want to have the, where is it? The customer favorites. Customer favorites. Then we talk about the brand. Then maybe we feature a product. If we're going to stack it like this, then I would actually reverse and go with image second. This way it's broken up very nicely. Here we leave it as is. Everything's working great. I think that alone is already making great changes. Now let me just quickly preview your product page and see if there are quick wins we can build. Okay, this is just a case of 4 bottles. Yeah, we definitely want to use a smaller font for this. Mix and match instead of 2. The lake. Okay, this is now very specific, of course, for the wholesale product. But still, we'll use the star ratings. We're going to move up. We want to have this either above or right underneath the title. I like to keep it above, and then the text where it now says Cypress Cove. This is where we want to say the fragrance notes. So those are using meta fields. Amazing, because this is going to make it so simple now for me. Instead of vendor, we would just go in, dynamic source. You know how this works. Where's our product? Was it sent? No, I think that's a different one. Sent label. Doesn't have one. Product. No, that's the category meta field. What was the name of the meta field? Vendor title. Is it under... Okay, you know what? Can't find it. I'm just going to go with the vendor right now, but this is basically exactly what you want to do with the fragrance notes. Oh, you know what? This is probably a rich text, and this I need a single line text. So I would change this meta field to be of single line text, and then we'll be able to find it here. For now, I'm just going to hard code it, and this is not what you want to do. What you did was exactly right. You wanted to have just one here. So I'm going to use this for now. And again, you want to do meta fields. I'm just going to, for reference, show you how it could look. Maybe we still going to call it send notes. Maybe just notes. I think this is looking good. And then sample, either add it as a variant or keep it like this. I would just make sure that the text, everything we have to say above the samples, about the samples, I would do it underneath. And I know the collection doesn't give us this, so this is probably the collection description. So what you wanted to do is do a rich text underneath, just have the headline here. So we'd say this is our feature collection, and all of this text we would remove from here and just add a standard rich text. We, in general, always want to lead with the product. So in here, we'll just say what we're saying here. We don't need probably the headline, and we don't need this. And the rich text, I might just do it left align, maybe like this. No top padding, so we want to make it really tight. And then this way, we could just wrap it in between. So we want to try a sample, then we show the samples, and then this text should go underneath. And that's going to then look really, really good. I'm going to save this. I'm going to stitch this together because I recorded in 2 videos. And yeah, hopefully this was useful. Let me know if not. And of course, feel free to use this, or also feel free to discard this. This is just an example. And I just wanted to show you, but also everyone who's watching this, how I would usually go in, make these changes. And hopefully that's going to make it much easier in the future.